Okay, so let's now discuss the certification process. So Matt discussed the data requirements and the submission procedures that you guys have considered. And now that your data is in CALPADS, let's just discuss next steps on your certification process. So of course, we expect you guys to submit your files for end of year 1. So majority of the files except for SDEM and SENR, if you're trying to report new students this year, are all file replacements. So your CRSC, SCSC, WBLR, your SCTE, all of those are replacement type files. So whenever you try to submit files to CALPADS, with these file types, make sure that you include all of the records for the associated school. Otherwise, you will overwrite whatever previous records that you have in the ODS. So, of course, you submit your files, and then right now, you are able to submit the courses for all semesters. You're also able to submit the student course completion records for those who already completed courses for semester 1. So you can start submitting those files in. And then for the SDM, you update your SDM file to include staff members who are now taking over classes or who have taken over classes who were not reported previously in Fall 2. Okay? So as Matt hinted, end of year 1 data does not necessarily have to correlate with Fall 2 data. So you can submit a brand new SDM update or brand new CRSC, brand new SCSC, and CALPADS will not even look at your Fall 2 SCSE and SCSC records. Okay, so once you've submitted your records to CALPADS, you then, of course, go to your certification page and see if you have certification errors and any CDD errors to correct. Okay? So for you to be able to correct all of these errors, you have to refer to the CALPADS error list or click on the error button of that specific certification or CDD error, and it will lead you to the CALPADS user manual error pages. Once you've cleared all of your errors, of course, you have to review the reports. You have to involve all of your staff members who are involved in collecting data for CTE, collecting data for completions, and also all of these work-based internships. You need to involve them to be able to, so that they will be able to affirm the authenticity and accuracy of the reports that you will be certifying. And end of year 1 is one of 2 submissions in end of year that does not require a SELPA approval. So you have full control when to certify your data and when to be able to finish certification for end of year. So this is a double-edged sword. Either one, you don't have to wait for somebody else to do a second approval. You have to ensure that you are certified by the July 28th deadline. Okay, so this is just an overview of the process of certification. So let's discuss some of the certification errors. And that leads me to the demo. So we go to end of year 1. And in end of year 1, you have here your certification errors. So the common errors that LAs encounter during end of year is your CERT4s, CERT054s, and CERT123. So CERT4s are basically a never-ending validation of your student demographic record. Okay? So we always try to make sure that you guys are up to date in terms of populating the race and ethnicity information of your students in CALPADS. So make sure that you've submitted your SINF file and accounted for the Hispanic indicators, the race codes. So chances are, if you've inherited students from other districts, or if you have someone who just attended school after Fall 1, Fall 2, you will encounter CERT4s if you have not submitted the SINF for those students. So another common error is CERT54. CERT54 is essentially saying that, hey, you submitted course section records for staff members who are not employed in this current academic year. So considering the shift between fall 2 and end of year, sometimes you guys would, for fall 2, you have to account for the staff member who is the teacher of record, right? So if that teacher of record is on leave, of course, in end of year, you have to make sure that you assign the teacher who is teaching the class. That way it's easier for you guys to be able to generate the data internally. And so with that, if you have new staff members, you have to make sure that those staff members have a SDM record in CALPADS. So for this, obviously, if I click on the seed number, it does not have, it shows that I don't have a SDM record for the staff member. So you have to submit that, or maybe, just maybe, the employment start date of the staff member was later in the year, or was does not overlap the semester that the course was reported. So just make sure that you have your staff demographic records for the staff members dated before sending up your CRSC and SCSC for that matter. So that's how to resolve your CERT 54s. Then another one, this is for CERT 123. And this is for districts who maintain a pathway program. Okay? So CERT 123, due to the following reasons. CERT 123 stating that you claim that the student is a CT completer. However, CALPADS does not see the SCSE rec showing that the student is a completer for the capstone course. So math mentioned earlier about the valid code combinations document and also showed you the list of possible CT courses and how it is designated as either an intro, a concentrator, or capstone course. So the CERT 123 trigger when you submit record. However, the student does not have the SCSC grades and record in CALPADS. So let's look at this one student. And to troubleshoot, you have to open up the valid codes combination document. So in the valid code combinations document, you have to filter for the current records that are active this year. And then you have to filter for the pathway. Okay? So let's look at this record. So I have here Inacals. And Inacals was reported to have completed a CT pathway code of 100. Okay, so however, if I look at the student course section, I do see a state course code here, but this is not a completion course. It's just an SCSE, which is a remnant of your fall 2 submission. So there are reasons why you get a CERT 123. Number one, you probably just submitted your SCSC first prior to having the SCSC file posted in CALPADS. Number two, the student may or may not be completer this year. Number three, the student may have completed last year or your capstone course and completed the concentrator course. Essentially, you pathway courses were not in the right sequence. And so those are three scenarios that might trigger a CERT 123. So in here, this is just a symptom of that issue. You have not submitted. I don't see any CSC record showing the record for that. So how do you know what record should be reported? So based on the CTA pathway, you open up your valid code combinations document, go to the course group master combos, and filter for the CTE pathway 100. So based on Matt's diagram earlier, for CalPAS to consider a student as a valid CTE completer, the student has to have an SCSC record reflecting a state course code of 7112 for the capstone course. How do I know that this is the capstone course? Obviously, there's the label. However, you can also filter based on the column here. I guess, yeah, the column here. So you have your capstone course, your concentrated course on these filters that identify if a record is a capstone course. So CERT123 triggers if you're saying that the student finished a pathway of 100. However, there is no record of the student showing that the student completed the course in this current academic year. So, so if you get a CERT123, the questions you need to ask is number one, is this student really able this year? And if yes, did the student really complete the capstone course in this current academic year? Okay. So let's say the student attended or was enrolled in classes out of sequence. So let's say you have the student completed the capstone in capstone last year, and then the student completed the concentrator this year. So for you to be able to account for the SCT completion, you also have to report the capstone course in this current academic year. Okay, so that way CalPADS can validate that the student is a completer in this current academic year. So that's for CERT 128. And then of course you have common warnings. I did see some common warnings here. So you have here CERT 55, high school with no enrollment in career technical education. So this triggers when you have a high school and then there are no CTE completers, right? So this is just a warning because maybe the high school is not operating a pathway. And so you can ignore this if your high school does not have a pathway program. Okay? Then number two, CERT99, no student course section data for a primary enrolled student. This normally occurs if number one, the student was enrolled at your school for, let's say, short amount of time, but it was too short that they weren't able to complete a class. So naturally, you will get a CERT99 for that because there's no grades or no credits to account for. So if that's the case, just be aware that CERT99 will still trigger, and just be aware that you may ignore that scenario when you see a student triggering that error. Number two, CERT99 also occurs if you forgot to submit of course, obviously, a SCSC record for a student who we expect to be completing classes or courses, right? Which is grade 7 to 12. Okay. Then number three, if you opt to not report end of year one data for your grades 7 and 8, either because it's optional, right? Then you will get a CERT99. So you can ignore those if you opted not to report 7 and 8 grade level SCSC and CRSC records for your 7 to 8 graders. And number two, if you have a school that is operating a self-contained class setup for your 7 and 8 graders. So again, for end of year one, you only have to report departmentalized courses. So if your 7 and 8 graders are in self-contained classes and are triggering a CERT99, you may ignore the warning. Okay? And that also applies for the CERT100. So if you have a school that has no courses, then you may ignore CERT99 and CERT100. Then CERT167, if you do not have a work-based learning setup at your school, surely you will get a CERT169, and then of course you can ignore those. Okay, do we have a question? I'm getting a CERT54 error for them, which is what? I have a staff that is teacher of record for a course that is hired through a staffing agency. Do I still need to report them? They are teaching SPED students. Okay, Shivan, are the SPED students in departmental courses? If yes, and the teachers are not employed by your district, then use CERT099 as math mentioned in that.
We're not taking the teacher's information,
Right.
teachers are credentialing. It's just, you're just reporting staff demographic if some teachers have changed from all to now, like if someone's left on maternal leave or something. It's perfectly fine, like Karen and Matt said, to use 999.
Yeah. So we're not dinging you for any assignment monitoring issues with the seed of the teacher that you're reporting for end of year 1. So assignment monitoring is way past us. As I've mentioned, fall 2 is different from end of year. Okay, so that's that. And that's normally what you will encounter for end of year 1. There are some fatal errors this year that were introduced as CDDs. So number 1, the most common CDD error that you may encounter would be SCSC0139. It just reflects a timing issue, maybe, or so what it's saying is that you submitted an SCSC file, however, CALPADS is finding the appropriate CRSC record for that CSC file. So it's similar to fall 2, wherein you submitted course SCSC records for students, but then the course is not the parent course that the SCSC should be associated to is missing. So that's SCSC139. Another one is CRSC0231E1. So for CRSC, it occurs when there are attributes between course section records sharing the same local course ID, but the attributes are different. So when you get a CRSC 231, make sure that you have some of those attributes corrected. So let's go to the CALP user manual, go to troubleshooting 31. So what it's saying here is that if a record is sharing the same CRS local course ID, then these fields should all be the same. Okay. State course code, course name, CT, technical prep, UC, CSU indicator, the standards grade level range, and the standards alignment code. So with that, you have to make sure that those fields are the same. So you have your CRSC indicator. So this should always be the same. That's one reason why you'll get a 231. And then, of course, maybe you did a copy paste and misspelled one of the course names. That's 2. And then this. And then what else? What else did it say here? And then this, your grade level range. Yes. And alignment. Okay. If you're getting a CRSC, look at your file for the record that is getting that error, and then make sure that the file itself is correct. So the CDD triggers after you posted the record. So when you see a CDD of CRSC0231, go back to the most recent CRSC file that you uploaded, convert it to Excel. That way it's easier for you to be able to see each column and the values and filter each, and then make the necessary changes and then re-upload the file. Okay, so that should correct your CRSC. However, just make sure that when you re-upload a new file, since CRSC is a replacement type file, it will overwrite whatever files you have currently in the ODS. How to create an error extract. Okay, so if you go to the certification page, you have the error extract here. So click on View Certification Error Report Extract. And then choose end of year 1. And then you can filter based on revised and certified, and then filter for just fatals if you just want fatals. And then pick the necessary records you want. So let me have pick end of year 1. Yeah, so you can all of those errors that you want, filter it for a specific group of CDDs, then click on request file. That's for the extract. Now, if you just want the report, you can run the report, and then you can export it using the CSV. So the extract is just that, it's an extract. But then for the reports, it provides you the same certification error report. However, if the CERT error report is not working, like what we're looking at right now, then of course you can run the error extract. So either way, you can run both. And then for this, if you opt to run the error report instead, when you export it, you can export it using CSV format. That way it's in a spreadsheet version. So let's do that. And then you can filter for fate. And then select end of year 1. And then view the report. Once the report comes, click on that save button and export using CSV. And that should give you your extract as well, or report for that matter. So Marshall was kind enough to link the extract functionality in here. You can run that. You can review that tutorial, and you should be able to see more functionalities that you could take advantage of. Okay, so that's for the certification. So now if you want to send this to your site staff saying, hey, how come this staff member does not have demographic records? Send it to your HR. And so they could build a SDM file for you, and or fill in the blank information that you need to be able to build a staff demo record, and then they could send it to you, and then you can fill in the blanks. And that also goes for CERT4. CERT4, you could send this to your school sites. That way they can input those race and ethnicity in your SIS. That way you just have to extract the file and upload to CALPADS.